Hello and welcome to the Foundry Roundtable, a podcast exclusively dedicated to the Foundry for Star Trek Online. I'm your host, Dragoon1701. With me is the best worst author we could possibly have on the show, Greendragoon.
I am both honored and insulted.
Well, we're equal opportunity here, so. And welcome back, Markhawkman, who is joining us on the road tonight.
Hey.
And back again for another round of punishment is Castmodean.
Because there isn't enough Doom in this week.
We must have our weekly dose of Doom.
Well, yes. Unfortunately, due to circumstances outside my control, had to scrap last night, so somebody's got to hear my dulcet tones.
I believe it was some sort of power outage or something, wasn't it?
It was a power outage plus also a massive video card meltdown.
Oh, geez.
Ooh.
Well,
so the chief engineer is in the process of rebuilding things.
I hope he gave you a 4 times longer estimate.
No, he totally Georgied it.
He told it like it was. That's a mistake. Well, we are talking, of course, about our excellent other Foundry podcast, The Author's Outpost. Hopefully they will be back online soon.
In fact, he says that it will be installed on Tuesday. Get the chat.
Yes, any good Star Trek fan will only install things on Tuesday.
So was it like a 6-day weekend?
I'd be perfectly happy with that. That's like the kind of weekend an advanced society would have, right?
Yes, but could you get all your work done in one day?
Yes.
Or yeah.
Yes, but isn't most of your work involved telling other people what to do?
Some of it, yeah.
The Mayans had this weird cultural thing where they would consider the last 5 or 6 days of the year unlucky and refuse to do any work on those days.
I like that idea. Well, in any case, we are back again. We're going to delve right into our Foundry mission this time that we started work on last time. For those of you who had not joined us last time, Mark and anyone in the chat room or anyone listening in, I decided for us that we were going to build another Foundry mission live on the show. This one's going to take several episodes, probably. So it's kind of a longer-term project than our previous ones. And basically, it's going to be a little bit to do with the Iconian War and the idea of bringing the Orion Syndicate into the war. So last time we started work on a prison scene, as I believe you can see on the stream there. We've been working on the interior of Facility 4028. This is going to be towards the beginning of the episode where you're going to go be sort of fake incarcerated so that you can gain the trust of an Orion Syndicate operative who's also imprisoned there. So I had a thought between this episode and the previous episode of we weren't sure quite what's going to land you in prison. And, you know, it could be like a conspiracy to, like, between you and maybe a higher up at Starfleet Command that nobody else is clued in on. And I thought, so what if you stole something valuable, and stash it away? That way, when you're in prison here, you can tell this operative that you're trying to gain his trust, say, hey, take me to your leaders, get me out of here and take me to your leaders, and we'll get this thing and you can have a cut. Because the whole idea, of course, is to get the player to the leader of the Orion Syndicate so that they can convince them to join the war effort.
Which prison is it?
I think we're going to make it just Facility 4028. Why not, right?
Okay.
Well, I mean, we're gonna.
What it might be is maybe it's not the same wing of the prison or something that you were in last time. I don't know.
I was going to say, I think we'll end up doing a little bit of redressing to kind of get the rooms to kind of fit scenes.
Necessarily have to.
So I'm thinking about converting this larger antechamber into a mess hall. You put
That'd
like
be pretty easy.
Like where you get your food over here, and then put
Some
out a bunch of tables. That way, we have a good place to meet this contact other than her cell, which I realized was a bit of a problem.
Yeah. You don't in real prisons. You don't normally get to visit other inmates in their cells, unless the other inmate has the ability to leave their cell on their own.
Yeah, not in a place like this. So I don't know. What do you think, guys? Should we steal something? Have the player steal something?
I would actually put it as a prime directive violation. It's kind of like one of those things they have in a TV show where they threaten to court-martial somebody. And only in this case, have us get temporarily imprisoned while they decide what the result is, or while they arrange for the trial to take place.
I mean, I was kind of thinking something along those lines too, because we could kind of play it at the beginning a bit like the Enterprise incident did in TOS, where you have the
captain's actually, he seems like he's acting really, really strange to everybody and really crazy, but it's actually part of the plan.
You actually were caught trying to contravene General Order 4 and get the Telosians into the war.
There you go. tie it into an episode of Star Trek, somewhere where you're not supposed to go. And first stage a very public argument with an admiral about trying to get the Telosians into the war, and then you go there, violating that, and get arrested.
So here's a question: should we let the player in on the nature of the captain's temporary insanity?
And for note, those turbolift doors actually look really cool opening like that.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, I still got to work on the placement a little bit, but
well, that is a good question, because you're going to get 1-star bandited because my captain would never violate the rules. My Vulcan captain, who was raised by Klingons on a Romulan planet, would never, ever go and do that.
Actually, that sounds like the one person who absolutely would.
So you've got that trap. But on the same counterpoint, it's good storytelling if you don't actually inform the player that this thing happened off screen.
It's good storytelling if it's an episode of TV. I'm not sure if it quite works in the Foundry.
That probably is true.
Because I think you need to clue the player in on anything that the player is doing.
If the player gets confused, they may or may not lose interest in the mission.
Well,
so
if we're gonna
go ahead.
I was gonna say, if we're gonna pull off a fake like that, I think we do need to leave like some pretty obvious clues that we're intentionally going this direction. Because I mean, if we don't do it right, the first thing the player's going to think is we're writing their captain badly, or we've taken them in some weird out of character direction because we're just bad writers. So what we need to do is make it abundantly obvious that we are intentionally going this direction. And things like the bridge officers, specifically like questioning, are you feeling okay? I mean, what's wrong, sir? This is unusual for you.
So what you need to do is have it start on like a social map at ESD where you go have, or well, maybe. Well, you need something on, a starbase or something where you go talk to an admiral. He gives you this plan, and he swears you to secrecy. It says people will question what you're doing, but you have to maintain this cover.
Well,
Yeah.
that works.
I still want to be just.
Or you could actually have it as a priority one, or wait, there's something other than priority one. But what was it? A gold channel thing?
Yeah, you might be right.
The one with the one with the bluegill invasion. There was a special subspace channel that they used to talk about their conspiracy. Oh, conspiracy is the name of the episode. But there was some sort of channel. You could start the mission with somebody in Starfleet intelligence contacting you that way and setting up the thing, and then you go to ESD and have it out with Quinn, or DS9 and have it out with Marconi.
The Code 47 emergency message from Walker Keel, an old friend of blah blah blah.
Yeah, there we go. Code 47.
Of course, it's Code 47.
Of course, it's 47.
I think I would remember that, but c'est la vie.
What if we were to start it off with, like, the Admiral calls you up and starts off the conversation with, Captain, we're implementing code 195 or protocol 19544 or something like that, and asks you, do you fully understand and do you accept? And you just have to say, yes, sir. Player doesn't know what it is, but... And then the Admiral goes in, very well, I'm here to inform you that your request to seek the aid of the Telosians has been denied. I don't know, is that enough of a hint to say we're setting something up and let the...
No, I think, unfortunately, in this case, you can't hint to the player. I think you got to be straight up.
You don't necessarily need to spell out everything, but you need to spell out that the player is doing some James Bond type crap, and that's
which
the player
means you may have to send a data file or something along with the communication that the player has to read.
This message will self-destruct in 5.
Exactly. Actually, with Code 7, those messages literally do.
It's built on a fractal virus that once it's been read, it eats itself and turns it into a transfer memo.
Primar is suggesting accidentally killing a Omega team, and I'm thinking, no, we don't want to have the player like commit negligent homicide or anything like that. Cause deaths. That's not something we want to go for. With
no
this.
blowing up androids or holograms.
What about
they have to be able to come back from this at the end of the episode. It can't be anything.
Mm-hmm. This is only a little bit like in the Pale Moonlight. We don't want to have the player actually murder anybody.
Well,
only Garrick
or murder by proxy.
Well, yeah, murder by proxy is what happened in that one, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, Dragoon is building his mess hall here. Prison mess hall.
Yes, his map is so much prettier to look at than the one I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
My map is a mass of checkerboards.
So I think they still haven't fixed the pixelation problem yet.
Nope.
I don't know that database issue is an easy fix thing, because apparently it's not referencing the image right.
Well, it's the server that generates the images is crashing.
Oh,
At least according to Zero.
then that is the bad.
My personal theory is this happened right around the same time that Taka put some very large assets into the game, and I'm wondering if that isn't what it's choking on.
I don't know, because it broke before he actually got in any of the Foundry things.
Okay.
Because it was broken as soon as they unlocked the holodeck, or unlocked Foundry on Dribble, and that was well before he actually dropped in all of those assets. So now, unless they were partially in before they were unlocked for us, that's something else altogether. But
I couldn't tell you.
Primar has kind of what I was thinking of, which is, inform the player of everything that's going on so that they know what their captain knows, but the bridge officers do not know, and they question you the whole way. What are you doing?
And then it'd be a great turnabout compared to the fact that we normally always have the bridge officers tell us what to do.
Exactly.
Kind of like that thing with Janeway and the Omega Directive, where until 7 of 9 points out that there is literally no reason not to tell them, except for the fact that, orders. Janeway more or less did that in that episode. Just like, wait a minute, like, yeah, we're going to invade this planet now. And the officer's like, why? Because we have to.
I think I like the Defiant tables they look prisony. Not as big, but
Have you ever been to a prison?
not personally. I've watched lots of television. I certainly haven't been to a Starfleet prison.
I have actually been to a prison. 2 of them, actually.
What can you tell me?
The Defiant tables.
Welded metal and concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing that can be...
The stools attached to the table itself. Can't be detached.
So it's basically like going to McDonald's.
Is actually very, very reminiscent of the prison mess hall that I've seen. Now, I grant you that was minimum security, but...
Of course, you're not at liberty to tell everyone why you...
Well, I think a lot of people by now know that I am a journalist, and the town I was living in was getting a prison built there, and so they had a kind of a committee of community members that were deciding some things having to do with the prison, and they got to do tours of several other prisons in the state, and I got to go with. So I got to tour a women's prison and got to tour the minimum security prison. So there is some actually Foundry news while you're building that we can talk about. We had all of our spotlight missions unspotlighted so that we can have a little work on them.
Yes. In fact, that's actually what I'm in the process of doing right now.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things I'm going to go do while we're broadcasting here. I got my Klingon spotlight that I can... Mostly, I think that one's just going to need the... directions changed.
Oh, yeah, for the universe map.
Yeah, thankfully I don't have any costumes I need to change on this one.
Yeah, this is a KDF mission, so I won't need to put anybody in the Odyssey uniform.
But you could do the port askew.
I could. Takes place mostly outside the Empire. Did she give us time frame on Zero when she wants to?
About 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks. Okay.
So 2 weeks is when she'll start checking for people having turned them in.
Now, of course, the debate among the Purity Squad was whether to change all the uniforms to Odyssey Standard. Did we find an answer on that?
I didn't hear from Zorbane, who's the only holdout, really. So I'm looking at you, Canadian. But
I don't think he's in chat at the moment.
The general consensus is that we should go ahead and do it. So
Notice something.
Now, see, I've been kind of.
that'll be relatively easy to do.
Did all of those little strangely colored objects suddenly change shape?
Change shape.
I mean, like pixelated masks they have put in for the objects you played.
Not that I know of, but you may be
Oh.
seeing compression artifacts just from watching over the stream.
Yeah, that's possible. It's a lower res kind of a thing.
I got confused because you switched to a different room and I thought the same layout.
You're going to have to speak up a bit, Mark. We can hardly hear you.
Oh, I may have gotten confused by seeing a different room with similarly placed objects.
One of the things.
There are lots of rooms in this
Yeah.
4028 map.
One of the things we like about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that he's got those lined up so neatly is disgusting.
What do I have?
Sure he-
Does that?
What are we talking about?
How neatly your tables are arranged, but I can't tell if you have those evil tabs turned on in the corner by the play button.
No.
No. Snap to grid's off. I need to match precise height, so I don't have. It's all eyeballed.
Oh, so I just hate you then.
Tell me you haven't just developed a feeling for these sort of things. Working in the Foundry editor for so long.
I used to think it was snap to grid, then I realized that they didn't have a fine enough object positioning for my taste, so I quit using it and just decided instead to just if I wanted things to be put exactly in the right spot, I would just type in the numbers manually.
I like to start with snap to grid and then do fine adjustments.
I mean, when I did the Beta Rana incident, I did the whole thing as what's the word for it?
What does
I
Marcus
used a lot of
hoped?
math
Hmm.
because of the fact that they have things in that precise geometrical arrangement sometimes. And Willem says that his reason for not using snap to grid is
I like the airlock idea, but I need to test some things.
That's pretty good.
I'm gonna have to put something up top. They're not tall enough to fill the space.
Still love that light bridge that you made.
yeah, that's a really cool one.
Because it matches the colors of the lights on the floor there inside the doorway.
Not true. I hadn't noticed that before.
Or close, or closely anyway.
But like 2/3 as many of them, because if I remember right, if objects are just the right gap, won't fall through even though there's an empty space between them.
Oh, that table just fits perfectly in there.
Very nice. I think I'd maybe switch around though. With
Oh,
little
have the
angled
flat
portion
side of the
goes-
other.
Yeah, the flat side out.
If I remember, this is one of those things where the center of mass is not in the center, and thus rotating it means that you have to reposition it.
Yeah, you may have to reposition it.
Oh well.
Yeah, looking good so
And-
far.
And my warden nicely placed up there.
Yeah, I'm getting a definite, Oz vibe.
Never actually watched Oz.
Isn't that HBO miniseries about a federal maximum security prison?
Something like
Well,
that.
it was actually a 5-season series.
No.
But yes, it was. It was the thing that Ernie Hudson did after Ghostbusters.
And if Dennis says he loves Oz.
I'm glad, because Ernie Hudson deserves bigger roles than what he got in Ghostbusters.
What did he play in
Okay, what-
Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters?
He's great in Ghostbusters, but he's the fourth guy that they bring in about halfway through the movie, and he doesn't get much.
Oh, that guy. Like Egon or something like that?
What is his name? I can't remember his character's name. Winston.
Winston Zedmore.
Winston Zedmore.
Oh, right. Egon was number 3. He was
Egon
like-
was the director.
He was also the director of the film, who just died recently, sadly.
Aw.
I was just saying to you on Twitter, it seems like we've lost a lot of big names.
We have
Lately.
James Horner, Christopher Lee,
Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy.
Well, that was not so recent now, but yeah.
Yeah, that's been a few months.
That was this year.
Yeah, but this year's happened.
So one of the things you're going to need, Dragoon, is a variety of inmates.
Yes. I'm wondering.
It's costuming
Do
time.
we have pre-made prisoner assets? Or do we have to make them ourselves?
Do we have any pre-made prisoners? That's a good question.
I don't think we've got any.
We discovered last time, Mark, that we have the inmate costume now
For guys,
Oh,
anyway.
Actually,
for males, anyway. Have the pants for females.
Yeah, I think
yay for object misalignment.
All right.
The blue pill preview images are weird. It's like it's sticking the camera inside their mouth or something.
All right, let's create some prisoners.
I'm going to invite anyone who's in the chat room now to share their craziest alien that they have created in the Alien Gen. We will put it in our prisoner list here. Give us, if you can get us a screenshot.
It just occurs to me that my most interesting alien character is actually not something I did for Foundry mission.
I can tell you how to create my my version of the Tzenkethi. There's several people have several other versions. Let me find it.
Is it Tzenkethi would be the
It's
The
the race
eco
from-
race.
Ooh, inmate.
The Tzenkethi would be the novel verse compromise for we can't have the Kazinti.
No, that's the Ferocins. The Tzenkethi come from an episode of DS9 where they, it's the one where the Changeling sort of hijacks the Defiant. He's going to attack and start a war with the Tzenkethi, and they have to find and kill the Changeling on board. It's the one where Cisco gets promoted to captain. But yeah, we never, this is where Mark was going, was we never see the Tzenkethi. They are in several novels, I believe.
Well, they're part of the Typhon Pact.
Yeah. And they are described a little bit in that, so I kind of took a little bit from that and a little bit from the notion that the original author of the episode had, which is that they were heavily armed lizard things.
Oh, another thing we know about the Tzenkethi from the TV show is that they really don't like the Federation. I mean, I guess you would say they're a lot like a whole lot of the other minor races that are like, yeah, screw you, leave us alone, or else.
Yeah.
You come in peace, shoot to kill, go away.
As soon as Dragoon is done with his Gorn here, I can tell him how to make this one.
Okay. How do you spell it?
Tzenkethi.
I think it has an apostrophe between the N and the K.
All right.
All right.
Well,
You need an alien.
okay.
Male, female. I don't think it matters.
I just did a male, so do a female.
I don't think I've actually done any females in any of my missions.
Well, then this could be something new and novel.
All right. Hopefully it has the same options.
More or less.
Okay, so we need the smooth nose ridged.
Okay.
Okay. No hair. One thing.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Skin. I've got first row. 15th over for skin color.
First row.
About 2 left at the middle.
Okay.
All right. Overall pattern spots 05.
Okay.
And for color on that, first row 7 over from the middle.
Pretty light.
Yep, they're subtle spots. Okay, for base complexion, the Samhain.
Okay.
Okay. Forehead detail Jem'Hadar.
Wait, what? We have those now?
Yeah, we've had Jem'Hadar details for a while.
Oh.
Nose Hunter. Eyes slit. Make the second color yellowish. No ears and no eyebrows.
Okay.
There you go.
Of course, females don't have the. Nope, still no prison uniforms for females, so we'll have to go Enterprise.
Well, for this purposes, we don't really want the Tholian logo on the back of the prison uniform anyway.
The ones we have for males, do they have the Tholian logo?
Yeah.
We have 2 variants, one with and one without.
Ah, nice.
Are we using the one without?
We are using the one without. So, I got a question I can throw out to you guys while I'm working on this. Now that the spotlights have been unpublished, what kind of work are you doing on them?
Directions, for one thing. My KDF Spotlight's directions were to go to Ganalda Station in the Ada Eridani sector block, which, of course, there is no Ada Eridani sector block anymore.
Okay.
I had to go look up what sector Ganaldo is actually in. Arcanus, by the way.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And because mine actually has a scene in a prison too, so I'm almost thinking about creating some new costumes for the for that with the inmate stuff. I think I just used generic Gorn and Noskins and that sort of thing before. Didn't change their skins at all.
Well, I'll probably be going back because originally I had some of the characters in one of them using the Bajoran Vedic stuff. This was back before, the Vedic stuff was supposed to be available and we were supposed to know about it. And I was like, ooh. So they took it away from the costumes. So I'm putting back what went wrong. And actually, what I've really had to do for a while is it just seems like every time there's a season republish, there's been a little bit more and more drift in objects. And I've had enough objects misaligned now that I've had to go in and tweak them and to make the map look right. Though, to be perfectly honest, now that we have carpets, I might just rip out some of what was wrong and, just lay down a carpet. Because it gives a nice, solid floor.
All right, so I need another prisoner.
Did you see the Katati that Captain P.F. Dennis linked?
That shows a Delta Quadrant, right? Oh, wait, never mind.
Well, that's interesting. Do we actually have, I guess it looks like we've got parts for...
It's a combination of other random parts. I'm sure he can tell us. Paul will need to know the forehead details and nose details and that sort of thing. Complexion.
With this, though, the devs actually did put in several bits that were exclusive to Delta Quadrant races back when they first made the game. I guess just because they felt like it, and they would add variety or whatever.
Yeah, one of them was the Kobali, who of course ended up playing a huge role in the expansion, which with much better looking parts, which I wish we had access to.
Yeah, but they just stuck that in at random just because they could a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And P.F. Dennis says he's going to have to look it up in the Foundry.
I'll tell you one thing that has become sort of a minor annoyance to me is that at some point along the line for female costumes that aren't alien, they put in an eye choice called narrow.
Which looks really weird.
Which looks really, really weird. And it often defaults to that, especially if you do random. So if you don't change it, it looks very strange.
Yeah, I get that on my buffs every once in a while, and they just look weird. It's a human with these really odd eyes.
They're evil eyes.
Oh, well. One thing I thought of is maybe doing one of those things where you have one of the prisoners wearing like glasses or something. Because one of the ideas I came up with when I did the Dark Soldier guys for that mission I was trying to randomize was that I would hide their eyes behind a pair of glasses, that are like really tiny but really, really close to their eyes.
And do we have the glasses in the...
I believe we have some of them, yes.
We at least have the ones that were available last year.
Let's see. I attach. We have the Intel glasses. We have minor goggles. And we have the various Ryza sunglasses.
Okay, so I can do my CSI Ryza.
You can.
Not that they didn't run that joke into the ground last year. Oh, how did that wall get misaligned?
I don't know. How did all my female costumes in the Purity episode suddenly have the narrow eyes? Which I didn't set.
Well, the same goes. You can ask Paul that time when a Borg totally invaded his graveyard scene.
Or when we used to get random Davidians showing up in unexpected places.
Yeah.
Weirdest thing that ever happened to me is one of my missions that worked normally. One of the updates made it so that when people would suddenly start spawning inside the wall and be unable to do anything. Then, you know, came the patch where it completely, utterly broke that particular mission that I haven't fixed yet. So.
You know, funny thing the other day, Sir Boulevard put in a thread on Reddit that he was asking if people could name their most memorable Foundry characters, which didn't get a lot of responses, but one of them he got was President Okeg from the Purity series. Which is funny because I don't think we wrote that much material from Okeg. We had his duplicate in more scenes than we had the real one, I think.
Yeah, I
Spoiler.
think you got to use the bulk of real Okeg, and
Yeah.
everybody else used Fokeg.
Or so you think.
Yes, well, we've never decided if that was a bait and switch, and the real Okeg's been evil all this time.
Be like a double bait and switch, really.
Haha, fooled you.
Bait and switch and switch.
I can't believe you fell for it.
So you have Krenim outfits in the Foundry.
We do.
Yep.
It's a nice little leak that we've had for a month or so.
Wait, what's the Krenim one look like again?
They're pretty basic, but they're there.
I think they're pretty much like the show.
Yeah.
I don't know quite what the colors were. Kind of a darkish blue, maybe.
Hooray, we can make Krenim red and have him call people dumbass. And
I was reminded by the recent featured episode that his original time was like a couple hundred years ago.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten
yay
that.
for temporal shielding.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Mm-hmm.
He's the greatest scientist who existed in the past.
But does he still exist there? Does he now exist in the future or the present? All at once.
One of Janeway's greatest crimes.
What? Stopping him or not stopping him?
She reset 2 episodes at one time. That was heinous.
Yeah, you had
Previously.
this awesome and gritty story arc, and then the conclusion of it was you literally hit a reset button and erased it from history.
Seen that GIF?
Voyager loved doing that.
See that GIF where it's Voyager smashing into the time ship, except they've superimposed a reset button, so Voyager's ramming into the reset button.
I whenever a show does that now, I call it pulling a Janeway.
It's real.
What am I doing wrong with my Cardassian? It doesn't look very Cardassian.
Oh yeah,
Got the neck scales?
Got the neck scales.
Need to make him a bit more gray skinned.
I could use hard a bit.
No, it depends. I mean, you have the really gray ones, but then you have like Damar, who was.
He's a bit more peach colored. It would be silly to assume they all have the same skin tone.
Yeah, you're right. He should be more gray.
It's a pity we don't have not Ducat's horrible mustache. Well, who is that? Gomaset?
yeah. Well, he also had this split goatee where it's like on both sides of his chin, but not the middle.
And of course, we don't have that wonderful pleather armor that they had then.
Actually, that didn't look like leather to me. It looked more like spray paint and styrofoam.
I thought more of couch, like the Naga hide couch cushions, just kind of
Yeah, I guess
strapped to his chest.
With something underneath him to like bulk him up.
Many Nagas died to me that outfit.
Why are his pants not orange?
I'm working on it. I stopped to screw with his facial settings.
1 star. Pants not orange.
Yeah, and make the head really small and max the neck ball.
I had somebody complain that to me that Korn in my mission wasn't wearing the right uniform because he changes into armor halfway through the mission.
You know, that's one of the things I like about using the Bosluk in missions, is that the number of people who actually remember them from the TV show is so small that no one complains about whether they're written wrong.
Of course, they tried to do the Bionars one time. That didn't turn out well. As much as I hate to say it, I think Bordicus did a much better job with his tune.
Of course, you know, Dragoon, you should do these the easy way, which is just duplicate the costume. Then you don't have to worry about getting the orange and jumpsuit the same way.
Was that true? Did Captain P.F. Dennis ever come back with his
He said he's doing something else
Tzenkethi?
right now. Can't get in the Foundry. So
Right.
Yeah, his computer is running on partial main power.
Repairs will not be completed for 2 days.
No, 2 hours. Definitely 2 hours in this case. Because, well, that's as quick as Amazon will deliver things.
All right, need another prisoner.
another prisoner. How about a pack lid?
Okay.
This pack lid tried to make the wrong thing go.
I mean, he tried to run off with the wrong engineer. And thankfully,
so-
Fortunately, the ship he accosted had a Packlet chief engineer. He did not pass go. He went directly to jail.
all right, so here's a question for you guys. We've got these old uniforms. What are good ways to use them?
I mean, like the Sierra and
The Sierra
whatnot.
and the Jupiters and all of the non-Odyssey uniforms.
Mm-hmm. Is that as we learned from Thomas the Cat's in his head, he has determined that those uniforms were never worn. That it just went straight from the All Good Things uniform to the Odyssey. So according to him, if you want to go by that standard,
I don't know. I don't
those
think the
uniforms
All Good Things
never
uniforms
existed.
ever got used. Not outside of an alternate timeline.
Well, actually, on his chart, they were the 2395 uniform, if I remember the date correctly.
I don't know. Does
Because
Thomas have?
they did a chart out. I'm gonna have to find it now.
He has like a Tumblr or something account, right? That he posts all this stuff on.
It goes to a
DeviantArt.
Tumblr and to DeviantArt.
Yeah, bet you he's got
All
it
right.
there.
I'm going to make the argument that in this case, Thomas may be exceeding his power of canon setting or his power of retcon, because
In Thomas we trust.
Stowe is based on the 2409 comics, and the 2409 comics.
Actually, we had a discussion about that the other day.
I learned that they actually took that uniform from Stowe.
What,
It's
seriously?
the other way around. Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
he can't.
the egg came before the chicken.
Huh. I didn't realize that they actually.
The Countdown comics, which are the ones you're referring to, that are something of an accepted canon for the new J.J. Abrams films, took their inspiration for that uniform from Stowe, according to Thomas.
That certainly lends an air of legitimacy to Stowe.
Yeah, they're asking in the chat room about the All Good Things uniforms. The other place they were seen was in the
A couple of times when Harry Kim got. Well, when Harry Kim went rogue and tried to bring back Voyager. And...
No, you see First Contact uniforms in that one.
Yeah,
the
Geordi's wearing the
Starfleet
First
guy that
Contact.
you see is Geordi, and he's wearing the First Contact uniform.
I know I've seen some of the Harry Kim ones though, wearing.
Well, he in Endgame when they show the future that Admiral Janeway comes back from, everybody's wearing those. The All Good Things uniform. So the only place we've seen those is alternate futures that may or may not ever come true.
And
usually
I am linked in both places. The image that they made back in the day of the timeline of uniforms.
Yep. 2395 to 2409. Oh, and he does include the Sierra uniforms as 2409. So
Okay.
they were used for 1 year. According to Thomas, this chart here, even if he's contradicting himself now. Over Twitter.
Well, it's been a year since he made this, so
he may have forgotten.
Yeah, I don't think we can retcon the Sierra uniforms out because they were used in the comics, which is not something that they can simply retcon. So I would argue, yes, the Sierra uniforms were used. They were probably phased out late 2409, early 2410.
Pax says the All Good Things uniforms were also seen in The Visitor on DS9, the episode that gave us Captain Nog. And so, yeah, he's quite correct about that. But also another alternate timeline where future will not happen.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, they've never been seen in anything but an aborted timeline.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we've never seen the TNG communicator with the bars, except in alternate timelines, and one fake Romulan one.
Yeah, but those were cool, and aren't those one of the mythical badges that exist, but we've never had access to other than to see the pretty art?
There are a number of those.
That's funny enough.
I think all the racial ones
I don't
exist.
know. I don't know what they all were.
I only remember that most of them were the racial ones, like an Andorian, a Vulcan,
Yeah.
All right, so he is not nearly hefty enough.
Got to pump him up. So if you want to go back in time to 2409, you can use the serial uniforms if you want. However, all of the things in the game itself, the cryptic missions that take place in 2409, ostensibly, will all feature the Odyssey uniform.
Yeah, except for you get into weirdities like when you go to save Quinn in surface tension. It's in the old ESD, not the new one.
Yeah.
Temporal paradox and all that stuff, right?
So
I get around that one by saying that that deck, which now a new player will never have seen before, is just a different deck of ESD. Then, yeah.
We were on deck 49, now we're on deck 47.
Yeah. So that day, Admiral Quinn got trapped in a completely different section of the station.
all right, I might have overdone it a little bit on the stomach.
Oh, this is interesting. That the version with the Federation swoosh thingy with the straight lines behind it is actually a parallel thing.
I believe it all that particular com badge also had something to denote rank on it, didn't it?
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
one of the bars was black, you were a lieutenant or something like that.
Yeah, it was a tip system on the badge.
Four gold bars meant you were a captain. I think it worked more or less the same as the rank tips on the shoulders, or collar. I am kind of curious about that possible future. Really cool.
It's a funny thing. The one of my captains and crews flies the Wells time ship, and kind of her backstory is that she works for Temporal Investigations, so she gets access to certain normally forbidden technologies. One of them, her crew runs around and uses the all good things com badge on the idea that it only exists because or it's like a relic of a aborted timeline. All right, need another prisoner. I am up to 4 so far.
Again.
I think you should put us in there, the hosts of the round
Okay.
table.
You want me to actually make it look like you?
No, not really.
Oh.
I'd give you a player character, maybe.
Maybe to just make it like a random human and stick my name on there or something.
You can use my liquidator Kreb, because he's supposed to have been imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit.
Gonna give me
He promptly broke out of a maximum security facility.
Exactly. Let me go find
it's a Kreb.
Kreb.
Yep, I spelled
Fairly
right.
light-skinned Ferengi, black headdress.
So
Short,
I am
bit muscly.
wondering about one of the missions coming up.
Yes.
Because now that we're introducing the Krenim weapon with the incursions, there's been rumors that something goes horribly wrong. Shock.
Just spoiler warning for everyone there.
Horribly wrong.
On that subject,
That's actually the original purpose of the thing, is to make things go horribly wrong.
The original purpose behind creating this thing was to erase like minor inanimate objects. You know, he started with asteroids and things like that.
things that wouldn't be missed.
Yeah.
Or so he thought it.
Obviously, he kind of escalated.
Well, wait a minute. He tells us exactly what his first target was. It was that race that they were fighting against.
But yeah,
Well,
He wiped them out, and then realized that
They're
it caused it ended up in a plague because the enemy had the
has been a
had
little while
introduced
since I.
Had a cure for the virus or whatever.
yeah, they. If I remember right, the way it was explained is that was one of actually rather vague. Is that they didn't explain how. Now that was the part that always kind of made me scratch my head. Is that it just said that their existence somehow created antibodies to the Krenim race. That doesn't really explain anything how at all.
well, it's one of those cases where the going into detail wouldn't have added to the story. So
Actually, now that I think about it, well, one way to explain it without, retconning it completely and just, like tweaking the details a little bit is to say that the Krenim contracted a similar but less fatal disease from the doll at one point in their history, and that individuals who had built up an immunity to that less dangerous disease were also immune to the plague. I mean, because that happens with real-life viruses. Sometimes you'll have viruses with similar shell proteins that are very different except for the shell protein. And your body's immune reaction targets viruses based on their shell protein.
Paul has provided us with his sliders
yeah, okay.
for the Kitati.
Primar says just make sure to call them Chronotrom. Oh wait, Corantrom.
So since we're on the subject of the Krenim and the events of the recent featured episode, what do you guys think of the Krenim's proposal? 'Cause I had some mixed feelings about this.
To build their time ship for them?
Yeah, I mean, even just unleashing that kind of power.
It has the potential to go very badly if we get somebody in charge of it who is less than principled.
But I mean, even the most principled individuals, I mean, the problem with the weapon was that you couldn't foresee all ends. So even if you tried to use it for the most innocuous, harmless reasons, it would tend to spiral out of control.
Yeah, but nobody knows that.
True, they didn't actually build the weapon in this timeline.
Yeah, in this timeline, they didn't build the weapon. Enerax didn't go on his, huge time spree. There's all that information that the people in this timeline do not know.
Although they make reference to being aware of events that occurred.
Yeah, and I think
timeline.
I have an explanation for that because Enerax had on his ship he had the ability to scan, and I can't remember because it's been a little while since I watched it. Because he could scan like multiple timelines. He could see how changes would ripple through to a certain extent. So, and I think the Krenim must have that technology. That's how they know at least somewhat of what happened. They probably don't know every single little detail, but they know in an alternate timeline this ship was built and some of what it did and what happened to it.
You know what that sounds like?
Maybe Enerax left a mainframe computer in his house that he beamed his logs to. And, you know, it's not the Star Trek way of doing stuff usually, because Star Trek tends to follow the whole fictional version of computers where stealing information means that you delete the original. And apparently copying files is a lost art or something.
Speaking of computer files, maybe we should have the Doctor run it and conceal all the information within his holometric so he'd delete himself if anyone gets close to it.
Wait, what are we talking about now?
The information on how to build and operate the Krenim ship.
Oh. Well, I mean, I think part of it was that the character I was playing it on was my temporal investigations captain. So she's going to be, of course, take on the impression like, absolutely not, you don't screw with the timeline.
What could possibly go wrong?
I was arguing with somebody on Reddit about this a little bit, because people were discussing this very thing over there, and you know, people being like, you know, maybe we shouldn't feel so good about this. This isn't a good thing that we're doing here. And I was like, you know, okay, this is good because this is asking those kinds of big, you know, deep Star Trek questions that people always say that, oh, this game never asks. And then somebody says, well, they're not asking these questions. I said, yeah, the player character is not, but the player is. Like the viewer is, and the characters don't necessarily need to discuss it for it to occur to the viewer.
And hey, players' opinion do foment change. They got rid of Divide X Imperia.
Mm-hmm.
I still kind of would have liked to have seen what came out of that if the other 2 episodes had ever been made.
Well, what Kestrel said is that they hadn't actually finished writing it out, and that only the broad strokes have been come up with, but I think the basic gist of it is that you're going to hunt down the changeling and Romulan, or not changeling, but Undine and Romulan space, and probably end up exposing them to the Romulans.
Yeah, I assume you're going to do something to make up for what you did.
Well, I'm thinking that what the idea was to make up for what you did is giving the Romulans the information about how the Undine was able to infiltrate their organization, etc.
So, Dragoon, as soon as you're done with this particular prisoner, why don't we shift gears a little bit?
Okay. Sick of watching me make prisoners.
Well, I think I got an idea. You know, we decided, or I don't know about decided, but we were thinking about, you know, having the player's crime being approaching the Telosian planet.
Okay.
So what if you do that and, you know, because who doesn't want to have a space battle? We create some kind of space battle involving unmanned drones. An automated defense system to keep people away.
And best of all, the drones could just be or illusions created by the Telosians, but we don't know that.
We don't know that.
Ooh, behind-the-scenes magic.
But in this day and age, you know, a simple warning to stay away wouldn't be enough. There had to be something to keep people away, right?
It didn't stop Spock, but, well,
Well, it wasn't
had
around
special
there.
dispensation.
Never actually stopped Spock from doing what the heck he felt like. Granted, Spock's principles often stopped Spock, but that was pretty much the only thing.
Primarch says skin battleship mobs as mines. I like it. But, you know, like the big Russian guy always says, drone better.
I thought he said this is how we fix Russian space station.
Russian space station, the American space station is all made in China. So here's a task. What does... First of all, the planet that the Talosians are called, is it called Talos?
It's Talos 4.
Talos 4. What does Talos 4 look like? Can we find a reasonable analog among the Foundry planets that we have available?
Actually, yes.
Seemed like mostly desert.
Take a look at Talos 4. Let's see.
So we need kind of a yellow planet.
There's sort of two here. There's one that's kind of greenish, and then there's one from the remastered that's... Oh, it's very cloudy. It's got some browns, a little bit of greens, kind of brown in the middle, green towards the poles.
And I still want to know where the Organians are.
Somewhere between Federation and Klingon Empire.
Pretty sure everyone
Yes, but they haven't intervened since...
They went beyond the rim.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
They decided they wanted to go with the Vorlons in the shadows and go away.
And yet nobody brought the Iconians with them. Or the Takan, or...
Yeah, well,
Which
you know,
I still...
never said
and
they
that was
were
the thing.
all intelligent, right?
Somebody had suggested that the Takan were the other as far as the Iconians are concerned, but I guess that begs the question now, name scheme-wise, Takan does fit in with the current naming of the Iconians. We've only seen 4 Iconians. The Takan are suggested
We've seen
to be a
about 12
race.
now. Because they had that big meeting at the end of the last featured episode.
But were they really true Iconians, or were they just mostly Iconians? Like servitors?
No, they were Iconians. You see them all gathered around. You only see 3 of them talk, but there's a bunch gathered around there.
Well,
we have 3 names. We have, what is it, Tiket, Matara, and... I don't remember the other one.
Maquette. And it's funny, they don't look anything like their parents.
All right, there you go, Cap.
thought of something. Was Portal a picture of an actual Titan, or was it the Portal taking an appearance that would make it easier for humans to interact with it?
I couldn't hear you there, Mark.
Was Portal the image of a Titan, or was he taking on an appearance that would allow humans to easier interact with them?
Good question. I don't remember if he says in the episode.
Now I feel the need to find out.
I sense an episode watching.
Okay, how about
Oh wait, I just noticed something.
Planet 8, MO8?
The Tikan is not hyphenated or apostrophe or whatever. Tikan is simply a single whatever.
Well, Pax, it can't be
See, I could've
the
sworn that
god
was-
creature from Star Trek V because I already used that in a Foundry mission. They wouldn't do that to me. Right?
We should shoot them anyway.
Hey, they already improved Nimbus in the film. Maybe they can improve other things. They've made that film better.
There we go. How about 7?
7?
7. It's
7 works. Deserty.
yeah.
But is the planet really there, or is it just a projection? We'll never know.
Decent sized planet.
We need some kind of like traffic net or something like that. A warning beacon. Warning beacons. And it has just a basic star field in the show, I think. So this being Stowe could do whatever.
Wow.
And of course, nothing says we have to get within planetary orbit. In fact, for all we know, we could be intercepted. How many, did they ever say how many planets were in the Talos system?
They actually showed a map of the Talos star group in the original pilot.
Yeah, I just saw that little map on Memory Alpha.
Binary system 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5.
Also, it's a very close binary, so the two stars are almost touching each other. Ooh, this is interesting. Talos 4 has a highly inclined orbit relative to the rest of the system.
Yeah, it's got a. That is a wild orbit.
It's interesting that they would do something like that even in the 60s, that they would think to.
Well, in the 60s, they had already figured out that, you know, Pluto had a weird orbit compared to the rest of the solar system. But I guess they were going with that. Also, back then, it was relatively common for them to make solar systems interesting by, well, doing that. You know, adding rings to planets for no observable reason. Sometimes rings that don't make sense from a real-world physics perspective. Ooh, this is interesting. Talos 5 apparently has a moon. That's correct.
So what you need in this particular map is something like where you approach the sensor warning nets. You get a warning, and your bridge officers say, "Sir, we should really turn back now." Captain, are you listening, Captain? Hello,
Sir? Sir?
or maybe you could lock them all out of the bridge. Captain, please let us in.
That might be a little much. I mean, whatever goes down, we've got to make the bridge officers seem at least partially complicit in whatever's going on, even if they object to it. Because we can't really separate them from the captain effectively. So
Unfortunately.
the best we can do is have the entire bridge staff thrown in prison.
Okay, so you can inform your bridge officers, but that's it. The rest of your crew has to remain ignorant.
No, I mean,
So we need a token officer, a junior officer there, someone who says, "Captain, isn't this restricted?" Captain says,
No,
"Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing."
We can use the bridge officers, and then the captain explains once they're thrown in prison.
Actually, you could
Sir,
like,
you can have Yeoman Bob.
well, it's the old. I'm sorry, but that's classified routine.
You're relieved, yeoman. Clear the bridge.
This is interesting, because I'm not sure why, but Memory Alpha lists there as being 11 planets in the payload system. It only actually shows information about the first 5 of them, but it mentions that they exist.
Well, figure the other ones are just gas giants and stuff in the outer reaches.
Or stuff like Pluto, that it's a large body that's too cold for anyone to do anything with it. Oh, you know what? I think I know where that information may have come from. You know how Spock would do that whole thing? It's like, Captain, we're entering the system. There are X number of planets, blah, blah, blah. I think that's probably what it came from.
Yeah, he would kind of explain about the star system, even if most of the information wasn't really relevant to the episode itself.
Well, it made it...
But it'd be the kind of thing, yeah, it would make sense in universe, though.
Also, I mean, from a TV watcher's perspective, it feels like you're being given information about what's going on. Even if you later realize the information is not actually important, but it feels like the information is there.
And of course, by the time you get up to like Deep Space Nine and Voyager, audiences are a bit more used to that sort of thing, and they didn't need it, all of that information, I think.
It's still nice, though, especially in the case of finding background information. I mean, granted, you might end up contradicting yourself later if you're not careful, which happens in the TV show. Surprisingly often, but, you know.
I recall Seven of Nine giving several speeches like that, of information that is only part of it was going to be actually relevant to the plot of the episode, but it was just sort of information on their surroundings.
I have absolutely no problem whatsoever with extraneous information.
I have no problem when it's Seven of Nine delivering it. Actually, let me rephrase that. I have no problem when it's Jerry Ryan delivering it. I don't really care for the 7 of 9 character.
I like 7 of 9.
Hey, it even looks like a binary system.
That's because I made it a binary system. You weren't paying attention,
Clever.
were you?
I was not. Pax Federatica says we will have to hotwire the ship's nav computer to actually let us go near this planet. So I figure Starfleet would insert software that makes you not go somewhere where they tell you not to go. That whole tertiary backup philosophy.
What if we were to do something like order the bridge officers to or institute a level 1 diagnostic on the navigational computer?
There you go.
Something that'll bring it offline for a while.
Or your orders from Starfleet Intelligence are a fractal virus that actually is designed to disable certain subroutines. And
yeah, but that could be traced. You want it to look like you did it. You don't want it to look like you were under orders.
What, you don't think I'm an A6 computer programmer?
I don't know, are you?
Well, that's not the point. 1 star. assuming my character's not something I'm not.
Well, you can have a bridge officer do it. Presumably, your bridge officers are at least competent in their jobs.
What? No, that's also an invalid assumption. Sorry.
My bridge officers are all idiots. 1 star.
How did the pack lead manage to figure something out? Ugh, I hate that too.
Well, packets aren't actually.
Yes, and that has been proven in the Foundry. Paul often extols the virtues of one particular mission describing that.
I would like to remind
And
you all that.
Go ahead. Sorry.
As I would like to remind you all that our last mission we built featured a very adept packlet.
Pack-led diplomat, in fact. Ambassador Dennis, which we named after Paul.
We will make you stop fighting.
All right, what do you think of my?
Your Talos looks good.
Apparently my stream's frozen again.
So you approach that beacon and you get a warning, do not proceed, but of course you proceed anyway. And then you get attacked by drones. Which basically gives enough time for Starfleet to actually show up and arrest you, right?
All right, so
you were in violation of General Order. Which General Order is it?
I believe it is 4.
4.
General Order 4.
Starfleet General Order 4.
The only order with a death penalty, except for any of the other ones that had a death penalty.
I think it's still a death penalty at this point.
But it's not summary execution, so you get to be incarcerated a bit first, which is exactly what you wanted.
Well, I think I don't. Seems like this was actually a discussion at some point, and somebody said that by the TNG, the death penalty had been abolished.
That's possible.
Yeah, they say that a lot.
But, well,
actually,
I wonder if that's on memory hole.
in the TOS, it never actually explained what General Order 4 was. General Order 7 was the one that you don't visit Talos. But
Yeah, you're right. General Order 7 is don't visit Talos.
okay. Then what am I thinking for? Oh, well.
That was that one that was mentioned in Turnabout Intruder, I think.
I might have to go digging into my archives.
Okay, but
Otherwise, there's all those documents I own.
in the episodes TNG Justice and Voyager Meld, they do say that the death penalty is non-existent in the 24th century.
So visiting Talos just means you get a slap on the wrist and a vacation in Tom Paris's lovely Australian outback.
But that's okay, because we didn't want the player to be executed anyway, so. And just say now it's still a very serious offense.
During the Iconian War, all we have to do is sentence you to the front line. Congratulations, everywhere is the front line.
my personal favorite General Order is still General Order 24, though.
Is that the one where you incinerate a planet?
Yeah, that one. Like, yeah, we don't like you guys.
General Order 25, of course, is don't feed the Epos.
Well, they are actually the Iconians in disguise.
Yes.
with their insidious subjugation creatures, the Karkals.
We actually have a Gorn healing drone.
Ooh, fine.
That'd work.
Let's see what we got in the generic category. There's the mine. Generic
Are those
shuttle.
little guys in EV suits?
Huh?
Am I? I'm
You mean the ship?
looking at here. Yeah. Is that a ship? Okay.
That's a ship. That's the front of a ship.
Yeah. See, it looks like a person, doesn't it? Arms and legs, but it's the front of a ship.
We have a couple of generic fighters in here.
I don't remember that one.
I'm just digging through our... Alright, let's try it with mines. See what happens if mines attack us.
Yes, they do. I did that in Darkness Between the Stars. Granted, I used a frigate group and reskinned the mine, but still. The idea was going with that they were attack drones. That was the only weapon systems remaining functional on the ship we were studying.
What the... Yeah, seeing
What is that
this?
you're looking at?
It's listed as a chronoton mine, but it all it is a flash, and suddenly there's a giant shield.
Huh?
Where are you?
Isn't that the Gorn deployable thing?
Yeah, that is. That's a Gorn barrier shield.
I like the color of photon mines.
Oh, now we have something to bug report. Whoa!
I'm wondering what you could do with it, though.
I can think of several things. Assuming, of course, it actually acts as a barrier when you reskin a non-combat. Because, you remember how we used to want to have the ability to make, giant force ability things in space?
So I wonder if the force field persists if you put it down as an NPC.
Something worth playing
What
around
does it
with later.
actually do? Well, I can play around with it now. Because I'm in the Foundry too. Put it down and see what it does. For anyone who has just joined us, we are working on a space map here. We're going to have the player be warned away from going to this planet, which is Talos 4, and get attacked when, of course, you ignore that warning by some sort of drone.
But it's all an elaborate ploy.
Yes.
I think when I used them, I used tricobalt mines.
All right, so the chronoton mine does create this barrier in space, which is pretty cool. So the question is, does it persist?
It disappeared in the preview after a little bit.
Yep, it disappeared here too. Does it reappear? Is question.
Well, one thing I can think of as a test here is to make it an NPC that you can do a dialogue with.
No, I don't think it reappears. I think it just goes once.
Well, that's annoying.
It's a
I
shame.
wonder if you could use it for a like a Q mission.
We have that barrier that he makes.
Yeah.
Since we don't have like the little Tinker Toy thing.
Yeah.
Which was sort of it's kind of a weird thing. But hey, it was the 80s.
They work with what they had.
Well, I think it was the first use of CG in a Star Trek TV episode.
It was.
Can't say in Star Trek period because we got that wonderful stuff from ILM in Star Trek 2.
Which to this day is still impressive.
It does. It holds up very well.
I mean, I still find it shocking that was CG from 1982. I
Really,
remember how
ILM
archaic our
just
computers
did
were
the
back
great-
then.
Oh.
ILM was always on the cutting edge.
Yeah, I don't even want to begin to imagine how long that took to render. Because it was what, maybe 10 seconds of actual video footage?
What, V?
No, the little,
Genesis device.
Oh, that.
Yeah. Well, there was that, and there was the nifty displays that showed they were entering the neutral zone.
Yeah,
in
but those
the
are
sim-
simple
in the
compared to
simulation.
the
Oh yeah.
Genesis
Oh
planet's
yeah,
transformation.
that's just a
You know what
camera.
reminds me? You know what reminds me of the Genesis animation is all this stuff that we're seeing out of the game No Man's Sky, the procedurally generated stuff.
Yeah.
Never tried it.
Looks impressive. I don't know how it's going to be to play, but it looks impressive.
Yeah,
Well,
that's one
we've
of
seen
the
plenty of
things,
games that look impressive.
it's just
You
one
remember
of-
this little game coming out from Perpetual?
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah,
that
but they didn't have a game.
Yeah.
They had nifty art, and maybe like one map. Because I think we saw screenshots of the observation lounge, didn't we?
Nah, that was a mock-up. They never actually finished it.
Yeah.
Actually, I have no idea, but
They had lovely concept art.
I keep wondering for the life of me,
Well,
how
yeah,
could
they
they
had John Eves do most of it.
Yeah.
how could
if you
they
liked
spend
their
as
design
much time
language.
as they did developing Star Trek Online and not have anything to show for it other than a couple pieces of art?
Wasn't it the narrative wasn't that they were like stringing it along so they could keep the license or something like that?
Yeah, it's like
And then finally it caught up with them.
I think it was really basically it was a scam, and they weren't really trying to make the game. That's
just-
the best way to explain it.
it just makes me want to shake my head every time I hear somebody say, "Well, wouldn't it have been so much better if Perpetual had done Capsto?"
Yeah.
Like,
We'd
no.
never have a game. Would be
Yeah.
like
Vaporware.
Stargate Alliances or whatever that game was that never
Or
materialized.
Stargate Worlds.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, that
Actually, there were several, wasn't there? There was an MMO and then there was a shooter that also never happened.
Stargate Worlds, they actually did work. They were actually trying to make the game. It's just that they ran out of development budget.
Well, I think part of what Perpetual's problem was one of their major releases crashed and burned, and they had been like floating money that they were getting from the Star Trek license over to that, and when that money didn't get recouped, they were starting to beg Peter to pay Paul to borrow from Mary,
Yeah, that's a possibility.
and then it all collapsed like a house of cards. But, well, look, we look 5 years on.
Mm-hmm.
The game is still doomed.
Yes.
Yes, but can we keep the doom
It's-
up to 10 years?
I think we can. I think this is persistent doom.
How long has EverQuest been in publication?
Is it going on 20?
Hey, that game hasn't folded yet?
Oh no. EverQuest and EverQuest 2 are still going.
What's the one that's like been going on forever? RuneScape?
RuneScape's been going on forever. Asheron's Call, I think,
Technically,
is still
WoW.
up. WoW's over 10 years old now.
Isn't Eve over 10 years old?
Eve is pushing
it's
about
getting
10,
close to
yeah.
there, yeah.
It doesn't cost.
It just really didn't pick up till, like, say, 5 years ago.
Eva's an MMO. Eva's a sociopathy simulator.
No, Relum. Paul is the reason that Perpetual never got Star Trek Online going. By Paul, of course, we mean Paul McCartney.
All right, I've set up a very lovely ambush there.
And we won't even get into any of the MUDs that still exist. Those things that predate.
Graphics?
Pretty much.
Well, technically, Diablo 2 was a mod or multiplayer online game. The main difference, of course, between that and an MMO is the lack of a persistent world.
Yes, well, I always hated playing LAN versions of Diablo 2 because whenever I'd see the notification the minions of Diablo have grown stronger, I would just die on the inside a little bit.
Yeah, that was the game feature. I mean, they literally added a health multiplier based on the number of people playing the game.
Dragoon is testing out Iconian mobs. Heralds.
Which is weird, because I could have sworn I picked K's on.
Klingons with bad haircuts.
No. It's Klingons with better hair. You're right.
What was it you were complaining earlier that
Klingons with no work ethic.
you were complaining earlier that you had thought you had picked one group but ended up getting another?
Yeah, I was trying to lay down Herald mobs, and I had earlier put down a Federation, the non-combat Feds. And it was giving me those again. It's very, very odd.
Okay, let's try Kazon again. Good they'd have good swarm tactics.
So in case anybody is wondering, my vision for the rest of this episode, once you gain the prisoner's confidence and escape somehow with the information of where to find the leader of the Orion Syndicate, is that you go on some kind of, Heart of Darkness, Apocalypse Now journey into like wild space to find this person. And somebody turns you over to the Heralds, though, and the Heralds attack, or, maybe a servitor race if we want to keep the minimum level down. Somebody sells you out to the Iconians and they attack. Somewhere.
Well, considering this is supposed to be for the Iconian War anthology.
Yes, we got to have
I
something.
Don't think we need to worry about keeping the level down.
True. But it's something I've been debating with my own episode. Is do I want to use the Heralds, or do I want to make it a little bit more open to non-level 60s? Leaning towards using the Heralds.
Well,
Use what
let's
you
see,
need to.
we've got the Yalachi. Were there any Solanae fighters?
We've never seen the Solanae fight ever. Pretty
I mean,
No,
the
we
only thing
haven't-
I think we even vaguely ran into is the Obelisk.
Yeah, we have the Obelisk.
But they do have drones.
Is that technically a Solanae creation, or is
Mhm.
that a different creation?
No, I think it's a Solanae creation. I think it's not really ever specified.
Yeah, because what the first thing I thought of is that, wait a second, we found this in a subspace pocket, God knows where in the galaxy. We don't even know that it was in the galaxy. And it does have features reminiscent of Selene technology, but beyond that...
Especially on the inside.
And weren't, like, Dragoon, was it you that was mentioning that there were quiet rumors that the Solanae might have been the sphere builders?
I have actually changed my tune on that one. I think the sphere builders would be an enemy of the Iconians because of their messing with temporal stuff.
True. They seem to come down kind of hard on anybody who plays around with the timeline.
Actually, that kind of made me think about something, because one person had a suggestion that the Davidians would be like the ultimate race to mess with the Iconians.
Yeah, I think that the Iconians would have several natural enemies. Obviously, the Krenim with their temporal technology, and I think the sphere builders and the Davidians probably would too.
And then you have the Borg, who, one, covet their Omega molecule technology.
Yeah.
Two,
have temporal technology.
Mm-hmm. Why they only used it one time, I don't know.
I think it's one of those things where the Borg understand the limitations of temporal technology and don't want to create a predestination paradox that will threaten their stability as a race. While they're willing to attempt it under certain circumstances, they're only going to attempt it if they have carefully calculated the benefits and risks.
Isn't the whole first contact thing a predestination paradox now, though?
It is.
Yeah.
Made abundantly clear by the Enterprise episode Regeneration.
Yeah.
It's actually an episode I quite like.
All right, so I'm at a good stopping point here, and I'm noticing that
we're at our time
close.
limit, so throw up our contact info.
All right. If you want to reach us by email, we can be reached at foundryroundtable@live.com. We are also on Twitter at foundryroundtab, where you can follow us to get updates about when we go live, when we post new episodes, when we make announcements, or just talk to us. Dragoon can be reached at Dragoon1701. Mark here can be reached at Markhawkman. And I can be reached at Greendragoon. Cast?
And of course, I normally hang out at Starbase UGC. I can also be reached through the Authors Outpost Twitter, which is the Authors Outpost. And we should actually be back this next week, barring any major engineering mishaps or time intervention.
All right, weird. Well, time for us to say goodnight then.
Good night, folks.
Bye.
Doom tomorrow. There's always doom tomorrow.
Coming soon.